Gabriel, I have to start with just thanking you for taking this time to allow me to actually go into depth about something that I admired you for a very long time. And that really is your teaching style.
Mhm.
So I am glad we're here. I'm glad we finally found some time. And yeah, I just want to start with um, you have such a distinctive form of teaching that is not a template. And I think that's what I admire. One of the things I've heard from being around you, right? Heard with ears. And I see, and I know from, looking at you through the years of how you do this. Um, I guess my question is, how do you tailor your teaching to the individual? And that's really what I see you do. I see you have a way of teaching. It's not a template, and it really is individually formed, right? If
Mhm.
that's a word, it's individually formed to nurture. And I'm going to use that word because it looks like it nurtures your students into who they individually can be. And I would love if you just talk a little bit about it. Like, where did it come from? Is it come from you? Is it hard? Just kind of like take us through that process.
Sure. Well, I think I can thank my mother for that. My mother had a school when I was growing up, and it wasn't so much in her school that I learned to relate this personally and directly to people. It was more just seeing how, when I was growing up, she had a very open door policy in my house in the Dominican Republic. And, people from the neighborhood would come, and I just would see how she would take a genuine interest in who they were, because she's a very curious, warm, interested person. So I think I, as a kid, would watch her interacting with others. And you've met my mother. And it's just, come here and embracing and just asking
Right.
questions and listening. And so I think I've taken a page out of her book to be that way. And it's funny because when I was a kid, I used to be very jealous of the fact that she was so personable and like giving to people that weren't me, her child. And I now understand that she just relates to individuals when she's connecting with them as if they're the only person in the world, kind of thing. And so I think that that is kind of how I lead my lessons. And then as I get information from the individuals I'm working with, I tailor things based on what I hear. And I, ask a lot of questions so that I can know what direction to go in. It's just really being, I call it student centric teaching or client centric teaching instead of like teacher centric teaching. It's not about me, it's about them. And I think that, for singing, that's what a person needs is to feel like they have a voice and that who they are and what they want matters. And then that's what empowers them to feel safe. And I think that's what's nurturing about it, to use your word.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. And it's interesting that you mentioned getting this style of teaching from your mother, because the style is very much what people are asking of the world today.
I
Look at
completely
me as an
agree.
individual, right? Look at me as an individual. Template. And it doesn't matter what age. If we go in at a certain age and they're like, yeah, but everybody your age does this. And I think what you're saying is that really doesn't work, nor did it ever work. And what you were able to see was it not working in action. So what you have taken, if I'm clear, is you have taken that ability to, and I'm not going to use nurture, but look at the talent or look at the gift that that person has and then expand on it. So I'm going to ask you this question. since people tend to, we all, right, tend to go with the herd. So, how do you handle it when someone comes in and you start to ask questions that will nurture them into the greatest person or a talent that they can be, right? You go inside, let's nurture who you are. When they come in and they say, well, that's not what my other teacher did, or I heard, and this is, when they do that, and I know it's a lot of words, but when they do that, how do you handle that? Because I would imagine that happens.
It does. And, not everybody is able to stay with me. And I've learned to be okay with that because if it's not a match, it's not a match. And some people feel ambivalent or they're kind of deciding or gauging if to stay with me or not because, it's not for everybody. There's so much intimacy and immediacy in the way that I relate to people. And if someone is not yet comfortable or feeling like they're ready for that amount of self exploration or self disclosure, they tend to run for the hills or, they come to a couple and then they leave. And it does happen. But the ones that stick and the ones that stay and the ones that are able to feel safe and feel ready to go on tend to report that, they feel great. So I don't try to convince anybody to stay with me. I understand I'm non-traditional, and I understand that I'm not going with the herd or with the pack. I never have, and I get that I'm not for everybody, and I feel very safe and comfortable in that. And luckily, I have enough clients to support and maintain my teaching practice, and so I'm okay, if a match isn't working.
Wow, that's nice. Um, I want to bring us to, and I love where we're going because I want to bring us to some of your posts, which I follow obviously,
Mhm.
and just really, it really sort of cements your philosophy.
Mm.
And we'll come back to that philosophy, but I really love, I'm going to go back to some of the older ones and some of the new ones. If you, so your favorite singer is a person with wishes, desires, insecurities, and flaws, just like you and me. I feel like that is such on target as to what we're talking about now, because it's easy for any of us to, again, I'm going to use the word follow the herd. What is this star doing? What is that? She does this and she does that. And it's hard to get in here, because, but what you do is you work with inside here. So if you could just talk a little bit about that and expand on what that means to you so that people will understand it.
Sure, yeah. Well, the human condition is universal, and we all have fears and desires and insecurities and hopes and dreams and regrets. And whether we admit that or not, I've learned as I've aged that that's the case. And sometimes when we're not ready to admit that or take stock or take inventory of what these fears and hopes and dreams and, also on the positive side, our assets and our greatness and our skills, sometimes we are so busy looking at the outside world because, we're not looking within that we can spot other people's greatness or spot other people's insecurities. And it's easy to comment on that. And then celebrities, or just your favorite singer, as I say in that quote, they are uh, helped by enjoying a great amount of mystique because we don't live with them and we don't know them. So there's just so much space between us and them, and we only see highlights of their lives, or whether positive highlights or negative highlights, and then we just string together an imaginary idea of who they are. And so we just go into this idealization a lot of times of like, wow, they're so amazing, they're so incredible, I love them. But usually we see them, looking their best because they're on an interview like you and I are now, and or they are, doing a show with their best outfit and in their best shape, and they're only seen in those peak moments of their lives. And I think that we forget that that person is human, and that after that show, their makeup comes off and their whatever else comes off, and that and that they're a human, that when they're in the car driving to the hotel, they could be on a call talking to their family about something that's going on, or going through personal issues. So it's we're always shocked to see a celebrity falling from grace, but I've learned to not be, because they're human, and it's a lot of pressure to try and maintain that image. And so I think it's not fair for us to forget that, that person is just as human as we are. Their job is to be, a public figure entertainer, and a big part of that job is to present a persona that is very well put together. And this is why I really appreciate celebrities that are open about their personal struggles. And I think that's becoming more popular now. But I also have an appreciation for the celebrities that are very private about their lives, because I think that that's a different type of singer, that or entertainer, that feels like, okay, this is my private personal life, and this is what I'm sharing with the world, and it creates this effect like a magician, where it's just about the wow factor. I would say, for example, a Beyonce is like that. I don't really know much about her personal stuff. I mean, I'm not saying she never shares anything, but she just looks perfect to me every time I see her. And I know that she's not. And I know she's also very popular, and a lot of people admire that she's like so well put together. And I know, without having to doubt or wonder, that she has insecurities and fears, and doubts and hopes and dreams and aspirations, that who knows what's going on. But I know that she's not perfect, and I think it's so important to remind my students of that, because it's just an unrealistic standard that you're never going to meet, and then that doesn't set one up to achieve something realistic. We know that goals need to be realistic, and the goal of being perfect is just a fantasy, and we don't want to be pursuing, what is it, the wild goose hunt? Is that?
Yeah. Yeah, a wild goose chase. Yes.
Okay, so there
Yes.
you
Hunt,
go.
chase. It's all
Yeah,
the same.
yeah,
It ain't ours.
yeah.
That's all we need to know. We're running after something that ain't ours.
It's 22 and a half in a dozen and half in the other. What is it?
Yes. Let's bring this to the baby boomer talk.
What is
Six
that
and one half.
expression?
Yeah, 6 and 1/2 dozen in the other.
I can never get it right. I'm,
You're too young.
I'm never gonna get it.
It's okay. You have me to fill it in.
It's not just being young, Theta, it's also being terrible at math. And it's so obvious when you say it, but it's just like, I can't, numbers don't stick with me. But anyway.
Even think that that even true today, right? Like, yeah, it is or it isn't. Who knows? I just keep saying it, which is great. And I love the language of achieving a realistic goal, because that's really what I see your style and your method of teaching is. It is giving someone the ability for them to achieve a realistic goal,
Yeah.
not just any goal. Sound like Barbara Streisand. Yeah, right. Barbara Streisand can't even sound like Barbara Streisand. It's a gift from somewhere else, And even Barbara Streisand didn't want to sing. She always talks about how she really wants to act and direct. So I love that. That's why I really love that quote about our favorite our singer, right? And I just want to move into this, because this is also where we are for our first interview. And that is, we start out wanting to control our voice. As we grow, we learn to influence it. Finally, we learn to trust it.
Mm. You like that one, huh?
I do, because it really, for that one, and I want you to talk about it, and I'll of course be quiet, which is hard for me to do, because I have an opinion on everything. Uh, but what I love about it is it's not only singing, it is a quote for life and living. And I think that's really what I love most about your post. The
Mm,
post can be singing, but it's also what do I do in life and how do I walk through life? Who am I making my idol? What am I trying to achieve that I can't?
mm,
How do I allow someone like you or someone who can walk me through in a way that may not be common or popular, but yet will get me where I want to go. So, yes, I love that because it really speaks to wanting to control. So, I'm going to control how you do it. Like I'm coming in for help, but I'm going to tell you how to help me. And, then our voice, we learn to influence that, right? We
mm,
take what we learn and then finally trusting. So,
mm.
just take your time and take us through that.
Sure. Well, I think we start out, insecure. And I think the first symptom of insecurity is wanting to control outcomes. It's just a survival thing. So we want to control the voice because we don't feel secure in it. Usually because we're comparing ourselves with more seasoned singers or something. And then when we compare where we're at, say at 15 or 16, comparing ourselves with a 30-year-old singer that we love, and we see the disparity, we get insecure and then we try to like control and make it sound like that elder singer that's more seasoned, which is sad. This is, I think I'm going to go into a little tangent here, a product of of growing up with the TV being one of the things that, is the thing that is raising us. And so we are seeing on TV la creme de la creme, in the sense of like we're forming our identity, comparing ourselves with really attractive and seasoned singers and actors and just everything else that you can. TV is a box where they show just the people that are very fit and very skilled and very all that, usually, unless it's reality TV, and then we can compare ourselves with people that are much worse off than we are. And so when we call them stars, and stars are so high above. So what happens is, dad is at work and mom is busy doing things and we're watching TV and we're just going, I want to be like that when we grow up, but I'm so far away from that. And so we see how fabulous they are with the way they're dressed and the clothes they have and the way they speak and the way they are. And so then we start to feel inadequate, because the thing we're comparing ourselves with is just like so leaps and bounds, more cultivated and developed. And so then we feel insecure, and then we start to try and control the way we talk and the way we look and the way we sound. And so with a singer, they hear a great singer and then they want to sound like that, but they haven't put in, a tenth of the work yet. And so then they try to control, they overcompensate. And then what we learn as we mature, if we mature, because some of us try to control, it doesn't work, we get discouraged and we quit singing. And then some of us learn to then influence our voice, through surrounding ourselves with just more realistic and supportive kind of people. So we'll join a choir or go to a theater or get a voice teacher or something. And then we start to like mingle with many other singers that we start to cross pollinate with. And it's a gentler approach. We're not trying to force and control ourselves to sound like the one singer we like. And then we just draw from a lot of influences and we allow that to kind of like influence us. And then once we feel like we've found our voice, then we learn to trust it. And then we kind of stop that whole comparison game and we just allow ourselves to go with the flow and just be. And ideally, I think we all go through the three stages. First, we try to control how we look and how we are. Then we allow ourselves to be influenced by, the five people we hang out with the most that kind of shape, who we are.
Yes.
And then we become an individual who just has an offering and is just like showing up as who they are because they trust who they've become because they've allowed that village to kind of shape them into the person that they are. And so I think those are three stages that show up in singers. And I agree with you. I think my quotes are truisms. I hope they are. And for the most part, and you can replace singing with living on any of them, and it's interchangeable. Because for me, my bias is that singing and living are synonymous. I think that life is a song, and I live in a musical, and everything just is melody and sound. And that's how I perceive it because that's where I see the world from. So every time I see a person, I see a singer, whether they think they are or not. I can't help myself. It's just that is the mindset that I've chosen and I stick to. And I like this quote: if you don't choose a mindset will choose you. And I can't think of a better mindset to choose than to see the world as a song and music, and that to see everyone I meet as a singer. I love that mindset.
Mm, yeah, yeah, that's interesting. I like that as well. Um, the other thing, and this is really playing off of what you just said, um, I want to go back into one thing you said. Sometimes when a singer gives up, and I know you don't know everyone in the world and why they give up, but based on some of your experience working with people, if you had to say some of the pain points of where someone may feel like, I don't have this, what are some of the encouraging things you would say to that person to get them to just honor, right? Because we're talking about going through those stages and you come into trust. So that is almost a trust issue. What would some of the things you would say to someone that will allow them to trust themselves, to not give up, and to quote your words, life is a song for you
Hmm.
and a song for all of us, right?
Hmm.
And trust me, I won't sing. And you'll thank me for it. You and the world will thank me for it, even though I think I do everything great. But what do you think? Just pick one scenario and how would you approach it? Because that one scenario may help so many people who are saying, I don't have it.
Well, do you mind if I use you?
You can.
Okay, so you just said you won't sing and the world will thank you for it. And I think that is emblematic of how a lot of people feel, that if they sing, the world won't thank them for it. And I think that this is very sad that we feel that way because what that's saying is that if you don't sound like Whitney Houston or Barbara Streisand or whatever, then people won't appreciate your song. But I hear happy birthday sung poorly all the time, and the birthday person loves it every time, whether it sounds great or not. And so, and nursery rhymes, baby. So the standard that we have for like what is acceptable is very high, and it keeps increasing with these like reality TV shows that the Voice or American Idol or other singing competitions. These singers are just spectacular with their skill, and we see them and then we say, oh, I can't do it because that's reserved for them. And this is true across the board with all arts. We don't want to do anything if it's not going to be amazing or incredible or highly skilled. And I think that's a shame because then the only people that have a platform are the ones that are going to wow everybody else, and then everybody else kind of gets lost. And the only way to get that amazing is by doing it poorly and doing it over and over again, and seeing that people um, appreciate your effort. And it's just so common. Yesterday I was at the gym with my boyfriend, and I was singing a Kelly Clarkson song jokingly. And he jokingly and with no malice said, "Who sings that song?" And I said, uh, Kelly Clarkson. And he goes, "Let's keep it that way." And then he told me that that's what his parents used to tell him when he used to sing. And I know his parents are joking, and I know it's just like a dark humor, but singing is such a tender thing that a joke like, oh, don't sing, or oh, go away. And I have a student that recently was telling me that her roommate told her that she didn't have a good voice, but she has a great voice. And I told her that maybe her roommate just wants quiet. And so, people, and if you're in a car with your parents and they're stressed out and you're singing in the back and they say, stop singing, it's not necessarily that you don't have anything there. It's just that you internalize this message that you can't sing. And it's really not true. We just take it that way because it's such a tender, sensitive thing. And then we shut down for a lifetime. So my encouragement is sit down and do some reflection on when you shut yourself down to singing, and then accept that you're not going to be great at singing if you haven't been practicing it. I draw like a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old because I stopped drawing. And so if you stop singing at 7 or 8, that's going to be your skill level. So if you have to keep doing it, and it's a practice. And the other thing is, if you don't want to refine it or get better at it, don't. But if you do, then I think it's worth pursuing, because I think singing is very pleasurable and you don't have to become. I play basketball, I'm terrible at it, not Michael Jordan or anything like that. And I suck and I enjoy it. So, like, it's okay also to not be a great singer and just do it for the fun and not because the world is going to like it or not like it.
Thank you. Um, what I I'm taking away from this is I love, here's the way I'm taking it, because it's really tying into life. So when I give up and belittle singing, I belittle other things in my life.
Yeah.
It's be, if I'm clear, and I'm going to put it in Theta language,
Sure.
which is it was just beautifully stated, which I'm saying 800 times, that singing and life mirror each other, in that if I walk around saying I'm not going to sing and the world doesn't love me, there's 100 other things that I'm walking around saying that the world will not love me. And I'm blocking any kind of gift or appreciation or any kind of value I could give to myself, because it starts with that little joke or whatever it is of, yeah, nobody wants to hear me saying, oh, I don't have a good, it starts with, I don't. And I
I
think,
happen to know you, and I've happened to be within earshot when you're singing and you don't know I'm around, or sometimes you'll just, sing a few bars of something when I'm within earshot or in the car, and I have to tell you, I really enjoy your singing. And I understand that you don't feel that way about your singing, and you probably think that, other people don't, but I do. And I would be very skeptical of thinking that other people that hear you singing or have heard you singing haven't enjoyed it. I think that thinking that people won't thank you for it is not it's not based in reality. I think people would love to hear you sing. People don't just like spectacular, phenomenal, incredibly skilled singers. I mean, there's so many famous singers that aren't spectacular, phenomenal, and incredible, and people love them. So yeah, it's
yeah.
not so much about the skill; it's about the heart of the person.
Thanks for saying that, because that is really important, because you use that in your teaching as well. It's about the heart of the person. You go and I went like this, but you go into the heart of the person and work with them to achieve where they need to be, to open up their world and their lives based on using singing, which is just such a gift. And I feel like your students are lucky to have you.
Oh,
But I
I
would like, go
I
ahead.
feel lucky to have them.
Yeah, yes, and I would imagine it's a lot of give and take. And it's also, I would like to go back and say that it is an honor to your mom to show her.
Hmm.
And yes, I know your mother and love her, so I'm going to say it. It is
Talk
an
talk
honor.
about
It's
heart. That woman
Yeah,
got a huge
she
heart.
she has a huge heart. She has a big capacity. But what I do want to say in our interview is what an honor and to thank her
Mm,
in this interview for what she has given you.
mm.
And she has given you another way of looking at life. And to take that, nurture that gift that she has given you and share it with the world because that is truly who she is.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to lose this time without saying that
Mhm.
because
Hi,
that is
Mom.
one of the things I experienced as being your friend, right?
Mm,
And also being brought into your family, actually,
mm.
right? It's like, who's that? It's
It's
Theda in the middle of our family. So
it's a
yes,
joy to have you as part of my life. You're one of my favorite people.
yes. So there's another quote that I also want to just get, and then I'm going to stay off. I'm going to stay off these things, but I just think they're so wonderful. And I'm going to go to like meals, singing can be prepared in many ways. The goal is to leave your audience wanting more. And the reason I chose that is the word many ways, which is what your style is. I'm not going to need the same thing that someone else needs, that someone, John needs this, Bob needs that, Kelly needs this,
Mm,
in many ways. But the goal is, as it is with life, is to leave people wanting more, meaning, I love being with you. Right?
yeah.
That's really what it is. So I'm going to ask you to bring it into singing because I always bring it into friendships and connection because my thing is, of course, is about mental health and friendships and how we help people. Even 5 minutes of our time saves a life according to according
Absolutely.
to the suicide prevention, right?
Oh yeah,
So
it's true.
um, yeah. So what I would love for you to do is just talk about that. And again, it is like meals, singing can be prepared in many ways. The goal, oh my God, is to leave your audience wanting more. Um,
Yeah. So, if I have guests over and I make a meal for them, I could prepare it in so many different ways. And so if I have an audience over and I have a set list for them, I can organize it and perform it in many different ways. You are gifting something. It's a form of a meal that's more like spiritual, emotional, an experience that you're giving. And so if you put some preparation into it and thought into it, you can do it in a way where you leave people with a really good feeling. And was it Eleanor Roosevelt that said people will forget what you said, what you did, but they won't forget how you made them feel?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So the goal is, whether it's through a meal or through songs, to give people an experience that is not just the food that you're giving. It's not just the song. It's also the way you played it and the way you garnish it and the way you season it and the way that you. And so with a song, you want to put some thought and effort into that instead of just kind of doing whatever the singer that you heard do it did it. You want to customize it, and then it could very easily leave people curious and intrigued about what else you have to offer. It's again that theme of not being just one more of the bunch and finding something that is personal and connects and is customized so that the person can be left with questions and intrigued and with an interest and re-experiencing something about you, or and you don't want to give it all. And so a lot of times people are enjoying us and then we just like try to give it all at once, and we kind of want to pace that so that, like we said, they are left wanting more.
Thank you. And I'm just going to add from my point of view, which
Yeah,
is, again, like I said, very much just relationship building. I love what you said because that works with our friends, family, work, or anything, right? We pace ourselves. We
exactly.
you 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 sing, you sing from your heart and leave them wanting more, but you also do that in life. We nurture and care for the people around us, whether it's 1 minute of time, even in the store. I'm learning that,
Mm.
even in the checkout counter, right? My little snippets of entitlement that I walk around with and think no one cares about really leave someone with a bad taste in their mouth, but leaving someone with a smile, right, is leaving them wanting for more. So we of course are talking about singing because we do this, but we do the same thing, just in different arenas, right?
Yeah.
I don't teach voice, but I do work and coach people on life, right? And
Yeah.
how we walk through. So I love that because it is a pace. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. I just think, I'm one of those people that believes that we only get to do this once. I'm only going to be Gabriel Weiner one time from, the day I was born till to be determined. And you're only going to do this once. So I don't particularly see the point of going through life kind of taking it for granted and dismissing opportunities and not being present and not engaging and connecting because we're social beings and it feels good to make someone's day and vice versa. I don't see the point of just kind of throwing it out. And I don't think that, those, when I'm doing that or other people are doing that, I'm in my right mind and I know what I'm doing. So I'm not judging people that, myself or others when we do that. But I always feel better when I am present, conscious, and intentional about how I relate to others. And then I sleep better at night too, because I don't feel like I was mean or entitled. Sometimes it happens to all of us, but I'm just trying to reduce the amount of times that I do that and increase the amount of times that I make a connection that is intentional and is constructive instead of dysfunctional or destructive or putting someone down.
Yeah. Do you feel like you're able to do that because you have students, so you get the practice that maybe someone else doesn't get,
I think
right?
that's true. Yeah, I feel very lucky to have one-on-one interactions
Yeah.
constantly. And I'm motivated to retain my clients because it's connected to my survival. And to go back to the Eleanor Roosevelt quote, I want to give them a good experience. So, I want my studio to be organized and clean. I want it to smell good, and I want to present myself in a friendly and warm manner. And that is a really, intelligent strategy to have someone want to come back. And so I sometimes get confused when, customer service folks are not warm and friendly because it's just not a good strategy. And I understand, a lot of people are getting paid minimum wage for that and they are tired and being exploited and all of that. And so I get why they don't feel highly motivated to bring the best of themselves to an interaction because I think people can be burnt out or feel underappreciated. But for me, I'm it. This is my business, and I want to retain my clients as much as possible, because it's something that is my nature and it also is part of survival, a fruit in nature that, wants to be eaten so that you can um, have the seed spread is gonna be the one that is the most aromatic and the one that's like looks the most appealing. And so like I think of myself as a fruit that is trying to be, desirable. And so I groom myself and exercise and do those things so that I can be someone that, people want to be around. And I used to think that was narcissistic or shallow when I was younger, but now I understand that it's not. It's just rising, to the occasion and just bringing forth the best of me. And I think a lot of singers and artists sadly think that they are self-centered, narcissistic, and shallow because they're taking care of themselves. And I really want to dispel that. I think it's really good that you care about, take pride in how you look and what you eat and how you show up, being on time and being kind and being courteous and being organized and being considerate and being well mannered and all that. Those are good things. For some reason, it's like not cool to be that present and that caring. It's better to just be apathetic and be like, I don't care what anybody thinks about me. And I think we have to get over that. I think if we want to have a good life, we have to bring forth the most warm, kind, conscious aspects of us. And then I think we'll be much happier.
Thank you. Wow. So I'm going to ask this question because it is my belief, but I would love to hear your opinion, that you are able to do that,
Mhm.
right? Take care of yourself in those ways because that's who you are. That is who you are. So you show up to work, to your profession, your career, your gift, and your goal, and all the things we want to call it in today's world. But you show up because that is who you are.
Well,
Okay. So,
I would be remiss if I didn't mention my dad now, because my father is very much like that. He takes pride in how he looks and he wants the highest quality things. And so I think that I learned that uh, from my dad. And, my mom's a great woman with the heart and the warmth, and in many other ways. And my father is a great man with that um, concern about, just high quality. So I learned to take good care of myself and eat good food and all of that from my father. And so I love that this is becoming a little homage to two of the most important people in my life, which is my mom and my dad. And I love that it's you doing it because you know both of them and you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I think I was influenced, to go back to that quote, and shaped by these two human beings. And when you say it is who I am, I would say, yeah, it's partly DNA. 50% of my DNA is from my mom with her traits, and my father's 50%. And I feel lucky in the genetic lottery to have been just, I don't know, gifted with these two people that came together. And here's the offspring. And I love that, from different cultures, a Dominican woman and an American man. And just, I get to enjoy the strengths of both of those cultures, and I get to consolidate them in my being. And I feel very grateful and very lucky to be mixed like that, because I think I draw from two different worlds, and then I can be more unique to a certain demographic as a result of that.
nice.
It's luck.
I was going to say it really is luck because there are several people who have diversified families and all kind of things, but they don't actually take on those traits, right? They take on different traits. So what
Yeah.
I will say is you were able to own something that you picked up from them, you liked, and were able to nurture it into who you are, right? However, there are people who have the same thing and do not pick it up, but they pick up something different that they bring. And my belief is we all have gifts and we all have personalities. And it really, some of it is our parentage, the rest is who we want to be. It isn't, they want this for us, so we did it. If that's the case, that's who your soul is and who you're saying you are.
Well, I
But
have to
that
tell you
isn't,
though, I
yeah,
have been in my past life, that in this lifetime, a huge entitled, bratty, negative, bitchy, nasty asshole, and sometimes I still am. It's not what I'm putting forth in this medium, and it's not, what I put forth in my lessons, but that's all still very much in there. It's just that I aspire to transcend and rise above that as much as I possibly can. And so the reason why, Theta, is because when I'm in that dark room, that negative state,
Mhm.
I suffer a lot. And so it's almost like being in fire, and I don't like it. So I do my best to stay out of that fire by just drawing from the best parts of myself. And so thank you for noticing that I make choices and that I've chosen these things based on who I am. But I mean, I've had a lot of challenges come up for me when I am being petty, negative, entitled that I just cannot tolerate. So now I just don't have the tolerance for being that way as much. And so I try to stay out of that mindset as much as I possibly can.
I thank you for that because actually, what you did is you talked to people about what the process is because not everybody's there. We're all multifaceted. We all have times when we're mean, we're entitled, we're all these things. But literally, what I hear you saying, if I can you can repeat it back
Yeah.
correctly,
Yeah.
but if I can repeat it back, it really is that yes, you have chosen it because I'm going to use that because the other is too uncomfortable and
Hmm.
you choose to go to the light instead of the dark.
Yes.
It works for you.
Yeah.
And so I just really want to like say that again because it's really important about who you are. And when someone comes to you for lessons, you live in the light. You live in the solution of moving towards honoring who someone is. That is what you do. It isn't about you. You clearly said that. So I say that that is also a helpfulness in mental health and all the work that I do with people that are suffering. And no, I'm not their therapist, but I do believe in allowing people to show us kindness and compassion and just a minute, as I say, of feeling good around you, it goes a long way. And it is a choice we make.
Yeah.
It's so easy to be the cool person that goes, can't believe they did that to me. That's easy. We can all did it. Cut me off. That's easy.
Right.
The part of making a choice to do it differently, as you said, is a choice. And
Yeah.
sometimes you make it, and sometimes we don't.
Yeah.
As we close, I want to close with this last one. There's so
Sure.
many of them, because obviously, ugh. But achieving the voice of your dreams is much easier than maintaining it. And I think I want to like wrap us up there because that's literally where we are. You talked about the process of where you were and where you are now. So one is achieving, right? Achieving what you want to be. The other thing is maintaining it while you move yourself to another level. So just if you can, I probably overtalked your quote, but but that would be me. If you could just talk a little bit about that, because it is true. Achieving a voice in your dreams in life, we can get there. Now what? And I love that saying that people, okay, I got there. Now what? Am I happy? Am I not happy? Did it do it? What is that? And what is that about singing? And what is that about life? Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, glad you said that. I think that's true about everything. I want the BMW. I want the BMW. I want the BMW. Okay, you got the BMW. Now, you need to oil change and rotate the tires and wash it and keep it clean and gas and, inspections and all that stuff. And oh, I want the house. I want the house. I want the house. And now you got to fix the roof and you got to remodel this and you got to, and so the maintenance part of it is something we need to come out of denial. So, I want the voice that I always wanted. And then you achieve that, which I think is much easier. And I think then what happens is that if we don't take care of it, then we take it because we're taking it for granted because we already got it. And that's why I'm a fan of working hard to achieve things because the harder you have to work for something, the more likely to maintain it you will be. So as I was saying, easy comes, easy goes. There's also like hard comes, hard goes. Because so those people that are discouraged and think they don't have a great voice, I would say that may not be a terrible thing if you have to work really hard to achieve the voice you want, because when you have it, you will much more likely maintain it and take better care of it because you know what it's like to not have it. And so those gifted, talented singers off the bat usually take their voices for granted and self-destruct a lot of times, as we've seen. We all know, I mean, I'm not going to go into names, but there's so many singers that we love that have, taken their gift for granted and it just kaput. So, and their whole lives. So I think maintenance in general is harder because it's something that is ongoing and it can feel tedious and chore-like. But I think that when you love something, caring for it feels like a joy and an honor and a pleasure. So I, as you know, like to keep my apartment very clean and constantly organizing and cleaning and all that. And it doesn't feel like a chore to me because I love it. And so with your voice, once you achieve that voice that you love, if you yet haven't, then hopefully you will want to maintain it. Because if you don't, it'll start backsliding. It's like if you don't, you lose, if you don't use it, you lose it. All these little sayings, that we say, which is what I try to do with these quotes, they might be short, little platitudes, but if we pay attention and we really know how to look into it, it's saying much. And yes, maintenance is definitely harder than achievement because I don't know many people that haven't achieved great things in life, but I know many people that have achieved great things in life. I just don't know as many that have been able to maintain those great things. And I think, people know what I'm talking about because I think that's our experience. You get the relationship of your dreams, but then you got to maintain it, or you get the job of your dreams, but then you got to maintain it. And it's a lot of work.
Say, I love the phrase, you have to care for it's caring for it.
Yeah,
And that is the hard part in life is caring for it,
yeah, yeah. We
I
have to
always
learn
tell
how to care again. I like, there was that saying, "Make America Great Again." I want to say, "Make America Care Again." We have to care, and we have to learn how to care. I think that's what life is about. Life, to me, is about learning to care for ourselves, for each other, for our things, for our environment. And I don't know what it was, but at some point, Theta, it just became not cool to care, and not caring is cool. I don't care, I don't care, I don't care. Somehow that is cool, but I don't find that cool at all. I find that quite obnoxious and ridiculous.
yeah, yes. And I'm the queen of saying, I don't care when I know I care.
Yeah, we all say that, but none of us
Yeah,
really mean it. We care about how we look and we care
yeah.
about how others see us and
Yes,
we care no
we
matter what we say.
care.
Yeah.
We care, and that's why so many people are suffering right now. And like suicide is up,
Hmm.
and I know this is, not the forum, but
I know that's a cause that you care a lot about.
yes, and that's why I do the all night walks and I raise
Mhm.
the money for it because it really is, and it's just people feeling unheard.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you for this time to tell to actually just voice how much you care and what you're giving to those students. And I want to honor that as you honor them. So thank you so much for this time.
Thank you, Thea. That was great. I really appreciate it. Thank you.